In this lesson, we're going to take a look at some of the tools that we have available to us when editing walls. That might mean trimming walls up, and it might also mean creating some new wall types. So first, let's take a look at trimming walls. The trim command in Revit works a little different than most of the other programs I've worked with. Usually when you're using the trim command, you click on the parts that you want to trim out or get rid of. In the case of Revit, you click on the parts that you want to keep. So if you take a look at these two crossed walls that I have here, I want to trim out this little top piece and this left side piece. So I'm going to begin by using my trim command. This is located on the Modify tab. And the trim command is this little corner trim tool right here, as you can see. So TR is my keyboard shortcut. So if I choose the trim command, now I want to click on the parts that I want to keep. So if I want to trim out the top and the left side, I'm going to click on this bottom wall and this right side wall. And as you can see, it keeps those portions. I'm just going to hit undo real quick and show you, again, if I would have clicked on the left side and the top, it would have kept those portions. So you just click on the parts that you want to keep. Now in that situation, they overlapped. The trim command will also extend to make a corner. So if I want to make these two walls extend to meet, I can trim them together as well. As I take a look at this next situation, I no longer want to make a corner, I want to make basically a T intersection. I want to take this wall and extend it to meet this wall up here. So instead of using the corner trim, I'm going to use the button right next to it to trim or extend a single element. And with this one, what you want to do is first select the item that you're extending to. So I'm going to click on this wall here. It doesn't really matter which face I click on. Then I'm going to click on the item I wish to extend. And as you can see, it extends to meet to make a T intersection. Now if I have several of those walls that I want to extend, such as in this case right here, then I can use the next button, which will allow me to trim or extend multiple elements. And once more, I'll begin by clicking on the wall that I want to extend to, and then I can just continue clicking on every item that I want to extend to meet that wall. Another tool that we have for editing walls is the split command. With the split command, we're going to take a wall and break it into multiple pieces, but we're not going to actually cut anything out. So for example, I'm going to cut this wall into two pieces. So I'll come up here to my Modify panel again and choose the Split Element tool, or SL for a keyboard shortcut. And basically wherever you click, it's going to break that wall into separate pieces. So I'll just click right here arbitrarily, and I can see that I've got a little split line in here now. So if I select these walls, you can see they're actually separate walls now. So that allows me to trim them differently if I wish. For example, maybe I want to make a corner trim between these two and a corner trim between these two. I can do so now since those are separate walls. So one of the things you'll be asked to do in the tutorial deals with these walls right over here in between the garage and the house. Now if you take a look at this picture right here, this was taken from the textbook, and it's telling you that you need to do some splitting and some trimming. And I found in several semesters of teaching out of this book, there's usually some confusion on exactly what this picture is. So what you're looking at on the left side is what your walls should look like before you trim, and then on the right side is what your walls should look like after you trim. And some of the confusion comes from the fact that people usually draw this in one of two different ways. So as we look back at the Revit project, and I look at this wall that is between the garage and the house, some people will draw this as one continuous wall, as you can see that I've done here. As I switch to another version of this project, other people will draw it as three separate walls. So I've got one wall here, another wall running through the middle, and a third wall down here. Now, one's not necessarily right or wrong, but if you drew it this way with three separate walls, you do not need to follow those steps in the book. The trim command, the split command will make no sense. All you really need to do is select this wall between your garage and your house, and delete it by hitting the delete key on your keyboard. So that should leave the upper wall and the lower wall. And as you can see, this now looks like the picture in your textbooks. If, however, you drew it as one continuous wall, you'll need to split and trim. And the reason why you're going to need to split before you trim is this. If I wanted to trim and keep these two walls right here, I'll choose my trim command and pick this garage wall and pick this house wall. Revit gives me a warning and it says, hey, if you do that, I'm not going to be able to keep these walls joined down here because I basically trimmed off the rest of this wall. I no longer have a little wall down here. So I'm going to cancel that, and knowing that that's going to happen, I'm going to split before I trim. So I'll use my split element tool, and it really doesn't matter where on this wall that you click, just somewhere on this wall, click to split it into two segments. So again, I can see a lower wall and an upper wall now. And now I can go ahead and use my corner trim to trim out each corner individually. Now I still get this message to unjoin elements, and the reason is because this wall was connected to the wall that I just trimmed out, and that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and unjoin them. Not a big deal. So I'll trim these two together, and again I get the message that this wall was joined to that one. I'm okay with that. Let's unjoin that. So again, as you can see, depending on which way you drew the walls, it doesn't really matter. You're either going to delete or you're going to split and trim until your final result looks like this. So another thing that you're going to do in this lesson is you are going to create different wall types. So to create different wall types, you've got to start with an existing wall. And one situation that you're going to do is you're going to take a look at this garage wall that you've got here, and we're using the style exterior wood shingle over wood siding on wood stud. And if I take a look at the structure by hitting edit type and then edit structure, I can see that it uses a 2x6, 5.5 inch thick for the structure. And on the garage, it's not supporting as much weight, so we want to bring that down to a 2x4, which is 3.5 inches thick. I don't want to change this value because if I do, it's going to change that type and it's going to affect the rest of the house as well. So what I want to do is create a new type. So while I've got this wall selected, I'm just going to choose edit type and then duplicate. When I do that, it's going to ask me what I want to call this wall. So I'm going to get rid of the little 2 that comes up automatically on the end, and I'll put in a 2x4 wood stud in here. Then I'll edit the structure, and again, the only change I'm going to make is the structure is now 3.5 inches thick instead of 5.5 inches thick. So if I click OK to each of those, if I zoom in closer, you can actually see the difference in thickness now. This is the 2x6 and this is the 2x4. So the last thing I want to do then is select these other 2 walls, and I'm holding Control to get my plus symbol there, and go ahead and change those into the 2x4 style. So in addition to modifying this wall on the outside, you're going to create a new wall style that's going to go in between the house and the garage. And truthfully, it might be easier to go ahead and start a new wall from scratch and set it up, but we're going to edit an existing wall so that you can see some of the things that are included inside the wall style. So we're actually going to start with one of the outside walls, the exterior wood shingle over wood siding on wood stud. If we look at that in 3D and see exactly what's involved with it, we've got, switch to shaded mode so you can see that a little better. So we've got a 2x6, and then we've got some siding, and then above that we've got some shingles. So this is basically a merged wall. It has 2 different styles on it. It also has a couple of things that are called sweeps. So if you look here, here's a little trim piece, and then here at the bottom is some more shingles. And basically this is a sweep. It's one profile that's swept around the outside of the building. So one of the steps is getting rid of these sweeps. And then we're going to merge these 2 layers together, and then we're going to change it to a different material type. So to create the new wall style, we'll begin by clicking on the wall tool, and then we're going to start with the exterior wood shingle over wood siding on wood stud style, and then I'm going to choose edit type. I don't want to edit this one again because that will modify all the existing walls. I want to duplicate it and give it a new name. So the name for this one is going to be exterior, garage wall interior. There we go. And then I'm going to edit the structure. Now you notice my preview is already available over here. If yours isn't, you just have to hit this preview button. And then if you're not already showing the section view, you've got to click the drop down here and switch from the floor plan view. Notice that when I'm in the floor plan view, I can't use the modifier or the sweeps option. So I'll switch to the section view, and now those options are available to me. So the first thing we're going to look at is I click in here and roll my wheel to zoom in. Here's this sweep at the bottom, which was that shingles, and then here's the trim board right here as well. So we're going to get rid of those. Those are called sweeps. I'm going to click on my sweeps button, and I'm going to click on number 1 and hit delete, and then hit delete again and click OK. And as you can see, those sweeps are now gone. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to merge these two layers into one. You can see over here, here's the wood shake, and then there's the siding clapboard. They're both kind of grayed out. They're separate layers, so we're going to turn those into one layer by choosing the Merge Regions button. And when I click Merge Regions and zoom in here, I can see this little symbol right here where it's going to merge up or merge down. Your book tells you to merge down, so I'm going to click when I see the down arrow. And that now takes that and turns it into one layer. Then, following the book steps, you're going to delete layer 1 and delete layer 1 again. You're going to take this plywood level and move it up. You're going to change its function to finish 1, and then you're going to change its material to gypsum wallboard. So I'm going to click in here. I'll show you that again. That went kind of fast. You're going to click these little dots. It'll bring up your material dialog box, and you're looking for gypsum wallboard. And gypsum wallboard is just another term for sheetrock or drywall. Notice on the interior side we've got 1/2 inch thick, so I want to match that on the exterior side as well. Then I can go ahead and click OK. And OK, I now have my new style. I'm going to make sure that I've got finish face interior set for my location line. I'm also going to make sure that it goes up to 2nd floor. You can see that 2 different places there. And I'm going to click in the corner here to start creating my wall. As you can see, it's going the wrong direction, so I'm going to tap the space bar, and now I can draw down to meet the other wall down below. So I'll take a quick look at that in 3D. And now you can see the new wall that I created in between the house and the garage. So that is a quick look at some of the features that are available to us for editing walls in Autodesk Revit.